Okay, this is the last year before Rosh Hashanah. So what is Rosh Hashanah? So the Chazal in the Gemara give us a little indication of the din on Rosh Hashanah. It's a very famous Mishnah. For Rosh Hashanah, Kol Boy Olam, Oivrim Lefonov Kibnei Maroin. On Rosh Hashanah, the whole world, everybody, Yidden, Goyim, everybody, they pass in front of him like Bnei Maron. We call it Meron now, but in the Gemara they say Moron, whatever. Same place probably.
Maron.
Moron. Huh? Moron. What is Bnei Maron? What does it mean? The Mishnah says that everybody, it's cryptic.
Moran.
It's cryptic. What is everybody passes in front of a Kadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah like Bnei Maron. What is Bnei Maron? So the Gemara says Hacha means in Bavel. In Bavel they said it's like Bnei Emarna. It's like sheep. Reish Lakish, he was in Eretz Yisrael. He says it's Kamailis Beis Maron. It's like a narrow mountain path going up in a Maron, and only one person can pass. And Rabbi Yehuda Omer Shmuel Kachayolas Beis David, like the soldiers of Beis David. What does that mean? So let's understand. This is going to explain to us a little bit about what's happening on Rosh Hashanah. So the first opinion is that Bnei Maron is like sheep. So Rashi says when a shepherd counts a sheep, he's going to do meiser. So he puts them in a pen, and he opens up a tiny little door, and they all try to get out, but they can only get out one at a time. So everybody has tried to explain this Gemara. There are many explanations. They're all wonderful. The Yitzhak Blazer has an explanation. The Maral has an explanation. I have an explanation. So I'm going to give you a pshat that I heard from Zev Leff, Shlita. Very nice pshat. This is sheep. Why does a shepherd pass his sheep before him? What's he looking for? Well, he's looking for three things. First of all, he wants to make sure that all the sheep are there. Maybe one ran away, or maybe a few died. He doesn't know. He wants to see exactly how many he's got. He wants to count them, make sure they're all there. Now, even if they're all there, he wants to see, is it a healthy sheep? Is it a sick sheep? Does it have to be taken care of? What's the situation with each one of the sheep? Thirdly, he wants to see if the sheep have his brand on it. It's called branding. That's what Pesach does. He does branding. Today, branding means something else. It was the brand of the company. But every owner of livestock, he brands his livestock, so it's got the symbol of the owner. So if it gets lost, you know exactly who it is, who it belongs to. It's called branding. So that's our din on Rosh Hashanah. First of all, the Rebbeinu Shalom wants to make sure, are we there? Are you there? Are we committed to him? Means, are we there? Are we a chelik of Klal Yisrael? Are we there? Unfortunately, many Yidden are not there anymore. They've gotten lost. They've given up their commitment. They've run away. They've gone off the derech. Some partially off the derech. They've gone down. Maybe totally off the derech. They've run away.
They run
How committed are we to a Torah life? That's the first thing Kosh Baruch Hu wants to know. Are you there? That's the first thing. Like a sheep. Secondly, okay, you're committed. Are you fulfilling your commitment? You're committed to be a Torah true Jew. Are you fulfilling your commitment? Are you doing the things that you're supposed to do? Are you doing your mitzvos? You go to shul, you daven with a minyan, or you daven by the kaisel. You know, the kaisel my roomie. You know, that's what do? You keep Shabbos? Well, I try to, you know, and when sometimes I mess up, you know, so you're not living up to your commitment. I'm dealing with somebody right now that, you know, they're committed to be, you know, keep Shabbos. Well, you know, last week I messed up once. I won't do it again. Kosher. Do you eat kosher? I try. What do you mean you try? What do you mean you try to eat kosher? Well, you know, I walked into a party and there was food there and I had it, and then after I ate it, then I asked, well, is the food kosher? After you eat it, you ask if the food's kosher. You know, when I was a Rebbe in yeshiva, so the bacher comes over to me with an empty candy wrapper, and he says, Rabbi, is this kosher? I said, well, there's nothing in it to be kosher. Now you're asking me. Are you committed, and are you living up to your commitment? What are your hashkafas? Have you made sure that you don't have any apikorsis in you, any kfira? Do you have good hashkafas, your Jewish philosophy? Are you a healthy sheep? And lastly, you're committed, and you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. You're a good from Jew. But do you bear the brand of a Kodesh Baruch Hu? What's the brand of a Kodesh Baruch Hu? You know, Yiddishkeit. Yiddishkeit, it's not a game. It's not Monopoly, you know. There's a bunch of do's, bunch of don'ts, right? And then if you do and the don't, if you do all the do's and you don't do all the don'ts, so then you pass go and you go to Olam Haba. It doesn't work. That's not the idea of Yiddishkeit. Yiddishkeit is to be a representative, a company representative. Kodesh Baruch Hu wants you to create a Torah personality. Do you have good midos? Midas toivos. That's what Pirkei Avos is all about. The whole past summer, we just finished the Pirkei Avos, last Shabbos. To develop a Torah personality. To be a fine Jew. When you're going down the street, you know, and if you're wearing a baseball cap, so they can't tell if you're Jewish or not. Maybe that's why people wear baseball caps. They're afraid to be identified, you know, for, you know, can't blame me, you know, that he thought I was a frum Jew. You know, I tried to avoid it. But, you know, if they...
I do it because I'm bald, and if I don't, my keyboard's going to fall off. So that's my excuse. That's my effort.
You know, but I'm walking around with my, you know, yeah. A person, a frum Jew who's walking around, and he looks like a frum Jew. He's got the kippah on. What are his standards? He walks into a bank. He walks into a drugstore. He walks into a doctor's office. He walks into a hospital, and people are looking at him. How is he acting? Are they going to say, "Oh, he's a religious Jew. He's somebody I look up to," or are they going to say, "Ah, he's a stinky yid. Ah, look at him. I don't want to be like him." You know. So,
beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
we have to try. We have to try.
Who said that it was?
You have to be Kaddish and Shemayim, like that's who said
Yeah.
that? Who's already that's the point?
You speak louder times.
Who said that that's the point in life? Point in life is to do this. I don't care if the guy likes me or not.
Says that we're supposed to be Mamleches Kahanim and a Goy Kodesh. We're supposed to be a light to the nations. The people are supposed to look up to us. It says in a couple of parshas ago, in I forget exactly which parsha it was, people are going to look up to you, and they're going to say, you know, we're smart because Am Chacham v'Navoin. The Goyim look up to us. If you look, all the Goyim, they know what a religious Jew is supposed to look like. They know. And, you know, The fact that we have a lot of people that hate us, that's anti-Semitism. You have even Jewish anti-Semitism.
The DNA. It's not like you.
We have Jewish anti-Semitism. That's the Erev Rav. That's something else. But yeah, they're going to hate you no matter what. But we have to try.
Make them like you.
No, you have to be an example. If what they do with that we can't necessarily stop that. But at least I should try. If I walk into, most people are good. If you walk into the bank and you're polite to the teller, to the guy, the pakid, and to the bank manager, and you go to the doctor's office, if you try, you push your way in. You try. People in the supermarket, they try to get to the head of the line, and and if it's a frum person trying to push their way in to get to the head of the line and skip the line because they're busy and they don't want, it's a chil Hashem. You don't do a chil Hashem.
Yeah, what if
Everybody's room and everybody's pushing.
That's the Iker Mitzvah, right?
Yeah, we have to try to be an exemplary example, to do the right thing.
I don't have a person just give away.
This is the Maisa with the phone. He had a Maisa with the phone. There's a Maisa with the Yishalmi and Bava Mitzvah. It brings Shimon ben Shotach. Shimon ben Shotach was at right after the Maisa with Chanukah. He was the Av Bezin during the time of Yanai HaMelech. He was the brother-in-law of Yanai HaMelech, by the way, Shimon ben Shotach. His sister was Yanai HaMelech's queen. So Shimon ben Shotach once bought a donkey. So he bought a donkey, and it came with the saddlebag and whatever, So when he took it home, he checked the saddlebag and he found a diamond. A little stone. It was a stoner, just a stone in the bottom of the saddlebag, and it was a diamond. It was worth, So he went back to the Arab he bought it from, and he says, I bought a donkey, I didn't buy a diamond. And the Arab was shocked. He was shocked, He did lifnim mishuras adin because when he bought the donkey, it was called toyas akum. He didn't try to not to the akum. It wasn't gezel akum. It was toyas akum. Toyas akum al pi din is mutter. He made the mistake. He gave me the wrong change. He knows what he's doing, So I bought locks. I bought it, as is. And that's how you sell a building, right? As is. And then I found the diamond. He went back to the Arab and he gave him the diamond, and the Arab said, Borach Elokei Shimon ben Shotach. I don't believe it that he did such a thing. Yeah? The guy with the phone, right? He got a phone in the mail. He ordered a phone. They called him up that he canceled it. And then it came anyway. And so he could have just forgotten about it and taken the phone.
Rabbi, just to be clear, I wanted to take the phone. I asked you a shayla. That's the correct deal.
I didn't want to say that. You said it.
It's a higher level though. You're going to ask shayla to talk on
you said it. I didn't want to say it. So and what did they answer? So he called up, and what happened? It was a mistake. We sent him to the wrong person. Thank you so much. You're so honest. We can't believe it. Because people are not honest. Everybody else would have taken it.
But there they could find out about the mistake. Here, by the Shimon ben Shotach, he wouldn't have known about it. He wouldn't have even
right. That's right.
It's not as if he was trusted in. There's an Indian to go should praise the Jews. There's an Indian. I have to.
All right. Each case.
I can take the money and give it to yeshiva. There's some good stuff with the money. What is it going to do with it?
Okay, listen, if it ever comes push to shove, then you have to ask the shaila, because there is a din. It's toyas akum is mutter, but there is a din of being mekadosh Shem Shemayim. I told you the Maisa with Ezra Tauber a couple of months ago. Ezra Tauber, so he was sitting in a shir in Choshen Mishpot, and they was talking about Genevas Das, and the guy says, afterwards said, Rabbi, I think I'm in trouble because I just sold the building and I know that there's a fault in the basement, in the foundation, and I fell in. It didn't show up in my test when I bought it, and it's a very bad. It's always acting up and causing me a lot of loss of leaks, and it has to be fixed every 3 months. So I sold it, and I sold it as is, and I didn't tell the guy about it. So am I allowed to pass it on to somebody else? Absolutely not. And the guy says, okay, listen, I'll give you all my meiser. Absolutely not. I'll give you half of my profits. Absolutely not. It's it's Genevas Das. Okay, I'll give you the whole profit. Just don't let me recoup my losses. Absolutely not. It's Genevas Das. So he says, wait for the closing. Listen, you don't have to tell them right now. There's going to be a closing when they sign on the dotted line and they do the final deal. At that time, you tell him that about it. So he waited for the closing, and they're sitting there with all the lawyers and everything, and then he writes a little note to the buyer. The buyer should be aware that there's a fault in the sub-foundation. It was a building in New York. So there's a fault in the sub-foundation, and every once in a while it acts up. And if you want to back out of the deal, you can back out without any defaults. So the guy, a goy who bought it, so he looks at the papers, and then he hands it to his lawyer, and the lawyer looks at it. He says, "What's this?" He says, "Exactly what it says." "Now you tell us? Why didn't you tell us originally?" He says, "Listen, I'm a religious Jew. I don't know everything. I didn't know I had to tell you because you did your checks and I didn't have to tell you. But I went to a class in Jewish business law, and I found out that I have to let you know about it. I'm not allowed to hide any defects. So I'm letting you know about the defects, and if you want to back out, you can back out." I told you. So the lawyer turns to the buyer, the goy. "Don't listen to him. All these Jews, he probably found a better buyer for more money, wants to get out of it." So he says, "Okay, bought, right, as is. Okay, signed, sealed, delivered, mazel tov, bracha and mazel." So, right, so he got his money. He made $1 million on the profit.
Give money to Rav Talbert.
Rabbi Talbot didn't reveal that.
Fine. I did research Diane.
Yeah. And 3 months later, he gets a phone call. "Josh, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I thought you were a liar. You were right. You were honest. It acted up. You were telling me the truth."
Dirty Jews. It was tricky.
So there's an Indian of being Am Kodesh, Mamleches Kahanim v'Goy Kodesh. What's a Kohen? I'm a Kohen. We're Kahanim. All right? We're Kahanim. So what's a Kohen? A Kohen is God's representative to Klal Yisrael. Right? Klal Yisrael's, we're the Shluchim. When you need the Beis HaMikdash, we're the Shluchim. We're the representatives of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. We're supposed to teach the people. So it's a Mamleches Kahanim. So Yidden are supposed to be God's representatives to all the nations. That's what we're supposed to be, a light to the nations. How are you a light to the nations? Well, you don't walk around with a business card and it says, "I represent God. If you need him, give me a call." You don't do it. We have to live a life which is representative of something that you see that this is the way a Yid's supposed to live. And it says, "Am Kodesh, Goy Kodesh." We have to live a good life, a Kodeshdik life. And they say, "Oh, that type of person, that's a from Yid. Oh, he's a good example. He's a good example." I remember I'm not in America now. When I was in America, my mother was in the hospital. I'm walking around just like this, and everybody says, "Oh, rabbi." So I gotta be on my toes, "Rabbi, do you know?" Then they think everybody's a rabbi. Anybody with a yarmulke is a rabbi. They start asking you questions. You better know. They ask you questions. They see the black yarmulke, so they start asking, "Oh, what's the halach in this case? What's the halach in this case?" And if you don't know, it's not good. So and that's the thing. So we have to have a Torah personality. Those are the three parts of the first aspect of being a sheep. Are you committed? You good sheep? How committed are you? Are you there? Are you fulfilling your commitment? Are you developing a Torah personality? Okay. Now, what's the second aspect, the second thing? Like B'nai Moron, a narrow mountain path, they have to go single file. What's a narrow mountain? It's a mountain path. It says very, very steep. Rashi says in the Gemara that it's a very, very steep mountain and you have to climb. So we have to be climbers. We have to be climbers. And everybody's going up a mountain and we're climbing. What does it mean going up a mountain like climbing? So on Rosh Hashanah, you can have two people, and let's say there are 50 levels of whatever, 50 levels of that, to determine where a person is, yeah? And you have two people, both on the 40th level. Not nice? That's very good. They got they got to the 40th level. One is going to be donned positively, and one is going to be donned, he's going to be judged not so positive. What's the difference? They're exactly the same. The difference is that one, last year he was on level 30, and he came up 10 levels in 1 year. That's fantastic. He's going to get a fantastic score, on his judgment on Rosh Hashanah. And the other guy, last year he was on level 45, and he's slipping back. Slipping back. So he's not going to get such a good mark on his test on Rosh Hashanah. So they look exactly the same, but they're not. We were put in this world to be climbers. We have to be movers. We weren't put in this world to stagnate. Rav Miller says, famous mashal, you have a guy in California and he's got a truck driver, and he hires the truck driver to deliver the goods in New York. So the truck driver goes he takes the truck, drives it to New York, then comes back to California, and the owner, he goes to the truck and he opens up the back of the truck. It's still here. Oy, I forgot to deliver the goods. He went all the way to New York. He went all the way back. He didn't get one traffic ticket, and he made it an exemplary time. He forgot to deliver the goods. We're here to deliver the goods. We're here to climb. We're here to be something. This world is a world of movement. This world is a world of movement. The earth is spinning around. The wind is moving. The earth is going around the sun. The moon is going around the earth. There's constant movement in this universe. Molecules, why is there heat? Because the molecules are moving, they're vibrating. And inside the molecules are the atoms, they're vibrating. And that creates energy. What is electricity? It's the electrons going around the atoms. So there's energy. Where does energy come from? Energy comes from movement. If the electrons would stop going around the atom and they would stop being electrons. And whatever it was, whatever the material this was, it would just cease to exist. It would just stop. It wouldn't be anything. It would be tohu vavohu, because there has to be movement in order there to be energy. If you go into outer space, you know what the temperature is in outer space? Why is there temperature here? Because everything's moving. Right? The atom's moving. The air holds heat. Right? The air holds the heat. The walls hold the heat because the atoms, the molecules inside the walls and inside the air, they vibrate. Vibration causes energy. The energy causes heat. You go to outer space where there's nothing.
It's a vacuum.
It's a vacuum. So there's Fahrenheit. You measure temperature by Fahrenheit and by Celsius. but in outer space you measure by Kelvin. So Kelvin is absolute. With 0 degrees Celsius is not absolute cold. You can get colder there. You can get minus. You go to Siberia, it's minus 50. So you can have minus, but in outer space you don't have minus.
What is it?
So it's absolute. So
What's absolute? Like what?
absolute cold is 0.
0 is frozen here.
No, 0 over here is frozen, but absolute Kelvin is nothing.
Nothing means.
No heat whatsoever. It's not even ice is emanating some heat. There's something. It's still something.
Cold is a lack of heat.
Cold is a lack of heat.
Minus 273 Celsius is
0 Kelvin. Now, for some reason,
273.
if you Google that in outer space, it's 3 degrees Kelvin. Now, why can't it get to 0 in outer space? I don't know why.
So the sun's radiating.
No, whereas there's no radiation from the sun. If there's radiation from the sun, that's radiation heat. Let's say you go into outer space and far away from any galaxy, far away from between the galaxies, there's no radiation, and it's going to be 3 degrees Kelvin. I don't know why.
Something's spinning over. There's no
Okay, that's I don't know. This is something spin. There it could be. You have to know field theory.
Even very far away. Even
Field
very
theory.
far away.
Right, in the Boomerang, according to NASA, the Boomerang Nebula, the coldest spot known in cosmos, temperature of 1 degree Kelvin.
1 degree.
Does not go to 0.
It does not go to 0. 1 degree.
Well, if it goes to 0,
If you go to 0 degrees Kelvin, because even 1 degree, there's some sort of field. There's some sort of field particles or something. They're rediscovering the ether. They used to think there was an ether, So now they're rediscovering the ether. There's some sort of field that is the lowest level of existence. It's the tohu vavohu, right? So tohu vavohu has some sort of heat. When there's nothing, there's something. Because even in outer space, it's something. It's a place. It's a makom. There's nowhere in this universe which is a nowhere. That's different.
It's somewhere it's far. It's a distance from something.
Whatever.
It has a distance.
you could go there. Yeah.
So we are Orach Chaim, the Mishlei. In Mishlei we say Orach Chaim l'maylu l'maske l'man sur mishol mata. What's the way of life? The path of life is go up. You have to always be moving, always be climbing. You have to always be climbing. And it says if you're not climbing, you're automatically slipping down. That's the way it is in this life. Life is like a down escalator, and you have to go up. You see the little kid, you get to an escalator, and you got these little kids, and it's going down, and they're running up, trying to get up the down escalator, right? And you'd like to do it, but it's pasnish, so you don't do it. But you also like to try.
I still do it, Rabbi.
Yeah.
I only do it in
So if you're going up a down escalator, if you run and exert yourself, you can get up. If you don't do anything, you stand still. You don't stand still on a down escalator. You go down. If you put a little bit of effort in, maybe you can stay the same, but you have to put an effort in. No matter what you do, you have to put an effort in. We are alive. So my Rosh Hashiva always said, to be alive, you have to fight the stream. That is the sign of life. In Gemara Chulin, it talks about a water bird, a duck, or a goose, right? A water bird. So it had an accident or something like that and fell into the water. And we don't know if it got damaged enough that it's called a treifa. So you want to know if I shech that duck, is it still a kosher animal? So how do you know if the duck is kosher or not? It's swimming. No, swimming is not enough. If it's swimming with the stream, downstream, it's not a sign of anything, because anything can float downstream. If it swims upstream against the current, then you know that's a sign of life, and it's not a treifa. That's the Gemara in Chulin. What's the sign of a yid who's alive? He's not just moving, he's fighting. He's fighting to go uphill. He's fighting to increase. He's fighting to get to a better level. So it's a constant fight against the stream. So the second aspect of B'nai Moron is, fine, you're a wonderful person. You're a wonderful sheep, and you're very committed. But how does that compare to where you were last year? Where were you last year? Where are you this year? And where are you going? So life, the aspect of B'nai Moron is like a mountain path. People climbing. That's the second one. What's the third? The third is like soldiers. What does it mean like soldiers? The soldiers of Beis David. So what's a soldier? A soldier, he's in the army, and he's got a job. He's got a rank, and he's got training, and he's got a job, and he's waiting for the command, and he knows exactly what he has to do. He's been trained to do certain things, right? And he's got the command. He's got the pekudah. He's got the pekudah.
And he respects hierarchy.
We hope. Today's world, I'm not so sure. So Rosh Feivel Mendelovich, Zatzal, he explained, we say in the Musaf Rosh Hashanah, in Zichroinos, the Kosh Baruch Hu dons, Maisa Ish Upkudoso, the actions of the person and his pekuda. The actions of the person I understand. Kosh Baruch Hu dons the action of the person. What's his pekuda? His mission. What's his mission? What's his task? His job. This we've discussed before. You were put in this world for a job. You were put in this world for a job. Now, there are certain things. I always say there's the Chofetz Chaim aspect of a person's jobs, and then you have the Maral's, the Ramchal's aspect of a person's job in this world. According to the Chofetz Chaim, your job is the generic job. Mitzvahs, which is true. The mitzvahs. You do good mitzvahs, you do mitzvahs aseh, you do good deeds, you get the brownie, I call them brownie points, right? You get the brownie points. If you do the wrong things, so then you get the black marks. So it's how many brownie points and how many black marks you can accumulate in your lifetime. That's the Chofetz Chaim's mahalach in what your pekuda is. Your job in this world is to be a good Jew. According to Ramchal, everybody is a keli, is a soldier in Hashem's army. He's got a certain mission. He's got a certain mission. So that's besides the jobs. Of course, we all have the generic jobs. You wake up in the morning, you got to wash Nagelwasser, you got to say brachas, birchas hashachar. You know, you got to do things right. You got to daven. You got to keep Shabbos. These are generic things that every Jew is obligated to do. We have to keep away from the mitzvahs lo saseh, don't do things we're not supposed to do, don't eat treif. So all these things are generic to everybody. But then you were put in this world with, we're so different. Look at each individual. Each individual is different. We're the only animal that is so different, each from the other. You look at a dog. I mean, of course, there are slight personality differences in the dog. I see the cats in the street. You see a docile cat. You see a, agitated cat. But they're basically, a cat is a cat, a dog is a dog, a cow is a cow. They're all basic. A horse is a horse. They all have the same. You can even figure it out. When a horse is born, you know how much food it's going to eat, how much it weighs when it's born, how much it's going to weigh when it dies, how many steps it's going to take in its lifetime probably, how much food it's going to eat, in the lifetime, how many tons of whatever hay or straw it's going to eat. You can measure everything, and it's within 10-15%. You have a margin, but you're pretty good. You look at two human beings, you can't tell one. You can't tell. Everybody's so different. Everybody goes so many different paths. Because we were put in this world with some sort of job. Now, what is that job? Now, we don't know. That's the problem. We don't know what our job is. It would be nice, as Israel Tauber once said. So says it would be nice. I wake up in the morning, and when I go to get my cup of coffee, there's a little note on my kitchen table. It says, "Good morning. How are you? This is your job today, right? I love you. Be matzliach. Love God." Right? But that would be nice. This is my job today. But we don't know. We don't know. So the Vilna Gaon, the Gemara says, at the time of the prophets, well, that was one of the jobs of the prophets. It says that there were more than there was 1,200,000 in Bayis Rishon, in the 400 years of Bayis Rishon, or the 800 years of Bayis Rishon, there were 1,200,000 prophets of Nevi'im. Now we only know of a handful of them that made it into Tanakh. How many Nevi'im made it into Tanakh? But what were all these prophets, these Nevi'im? Because whenever you had a problem, you didn't, like people go to the rabbi for their problem. They used to go to the Navi, and the Navi would tell you with this is your Shorish HaNeshama. This is your job in Olam Hazeh. Everybody has a different tafkid. You know what the word tafkid means? You got a different mission. You have a mission in Olam Hazeh. What's your mission? So you go to the Navi, he tell you the mission. It says we lost the Nevi'im, so they used to have Ruach HaKodesh. So people with Ruach HaKodesh were able to tell you, the person's got a Shorish Neshama. Everybody's got a certain position in this world. What he's supposed to be doing, we don't know anymore. So the Vilna Gaon says, we don't know anymore. All we can do is follow the Torah, look in the Torah, and do what the Torah tells us to.
Wait, you have certain natural natias, like
some people. The Chavos Halevavos says that you have many talent. You have talents. Everybody was born with talents, abilities, capabilities, and a life situation, and you have a feeling. You're pulled to a certain to a certain you see in a certain direction. That has something to do with your Shorish HaNeshama. Yes.
Therefore.
So you have to try to figure out from where you feel you're being pulled and how to use it.
Certain things I'm naturally not into. I just,
So
you have to overcome that stuff.
Wait. If it's against, that's a long discussion. I'm not getting about. That's
habits and what?
Okay, fighting your habits.
Musician, so he has to play music, or he has to sing.
No, wait. Musician. Oh, so there are different types of people. You have people. A musician. He's got a heart. Now the question is, what's going to use his heart for? Is going to use his heart. He could be a musician if he uses it. You're supposed to use it as much as you can, and this is what you donned on Rosh Hashanah. How much did you use it for yourself, and how much did you use it for me, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu? We have our talents. Now, what are you going to use it for? If you're a musician, so he could use his music for spiritual things. Like I'm not talking about chazonis. In the old days it was the chazan, so it made davening much nicer to have a nice chazan, but not today. No, we don't like chazanim today. But we liked all the music. So it depends.
As long as he finishes in time.
But a person who's got a good heart. Now it could be you can use your talents in many ways. It could be he could use his talents as a musician, or he could use his good heart, and he could say good sichot. He could say drushes. Musa drushes, and he's like Biederman, and he just so lively, and he gets every he influences people, and people love to hear him. You have these speakers that they're vibrant. They have a vibrancy. I can't tell you what you should do with it. Also, people have to make money. If you can make money and make a nice parnasa as a musician, why not? But many people have talents, and we have to use them. Now, what are we supposed to use them for? And you have to figure it out. You wake up in the morning, so you do your rigmarole, your schedule. You got to daven, you got to have, and you got to wash your nagelwasser, and you do the right thing. But you get a phone call. You get a phone call. And at the other end of the line, it says, I'm in trouble. I need help. You get a phone call. So, listen. Help people. You're here to help people. That's one of your tafkidim. I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm running out of time. You have to help people. That's one of your tafkidim. You're not alone. The end of the Mishnah says, it says, V'kula niskaram b'skira achas. We have the sheep. Everybody's like Menei Moron. We have the sheep, we have the mountain climbers, and we have the soldiers with their tafkid. Right? And kulam niskaram b'skira achas. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu looks at them not only as individuals, and they get judged as individuals, but they get judged. The Kodesh Baruch Hu looks at everybody and judges everybody all together, all at once. We are part of a community. We're part of Yiddishkeit. We're part of world Jewry. We're part of our national Jewry. We're here in Eretz Yisrael. We're part of Eretz Yisrael. If you're in America, people listening on the video, you're part of America, part of the American Jewry. We have a community. We have a shul. You live in many, many, many places. Kodesh Baruch Hu looks, how do you fit into the whole picture? So if you get a phone call, I'm in trouble, maybe see what you can do. See what you can do. A Yid is in trouble. Maybe he needs a loan. You're a businessman, he's calling for a loan. Maybe he's got a shalom bayis problem. He needs some advice how to handle his wife. There's so much shalom bayis saris today. People are not getting along. I mean, like the divorce rate is way up, and it shouldn't be that way because they don't know how to handle each other. Or maybe the guy needs advice on how to run his business, or he's got a kid who's going off the derech. What do I do with my kid? How do I keep him in school? He needs advice. If that's your talent, help him out. Give him some advice. Maybe he just needs to get it off his chest. How many people call me? I don't say a word. I just listen. I put the speakerphone on. I keep on doing whatever I have to do. And after that, they say, "Oh, thank you, Rabbi. You helped me so much." I didn't do anything, but I know they had to get it off their chest. And when they talk it out, many people, it straightens out, because by talking, it gets clear in your mind. So they had to talk it out. They needed somebody to talk it out to.
If you start talking.
Huh? I was with somebody, and a fundraiser called him up, and the guy was a talker. So I said, the guy put it on speakerphone, and he was going around, and every once in a while he could, yeah, I hear, And the fundraiser thought the guy was listening. He was in the kitchen, like doing whatever he had to do, and said, "Okay, I'll get back to you. It was nice talking to you." So. I'm not saying you should do that with every, the person who comes to ask for a donation, but people call and they want to get things off their chest. They need help. So your mission in life, there's so much. Shalom bayis. I have to mention shalom bayis. Shalom bayis is such a problem today. Listen, you got married, and as good as it was when you got married, Be'ez Hashem, right?
Now the truth comes out.
As good as it is when Shabbat, but you're an individual and she's an individual, and you have a life, and you have a life, and you have your personality, and she's got a personality. It's not exactly the same. And women have a certain nature which is not exactly in sync with men's nature. Now, what are you supposed to do? So the first thing is that you have to remember what Shimshon Pincus once said. He says, we are we give a bracha to Sheva brachas like Gan Eden. What was it in Gan Eden? One man and one woman. And that's it. So you have to look at your wife as, I'm on a desert island, there's one man and there's one woman, and that's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu set me up. And if I believe in Bashert, I hope we do, I hope we believe in the Bashert, right? That's where we believe, we believe in like Adam Arishon and Chava was the Bashert. So it's a marriage made in heaven. She's my other half, the Gemara and Saita, and it's true. Now, if it's made in heaven, learn how to deal with it. Learn how to live with it. We live in a chad pami generation, a disposable generation. That's the problem. It's a problem. You have to learn how to live. A wife sometimes is a sister. I don't know how you got along with your sister or not, but but sometimes it's a sister. Sometimes it's a mother. Oh no, I didn't realize I was marrying my mother. But yeah, she wants to mother you. Or maybe she's your daughter and she's got to be taken care of like a daughter. So she could be a lot of different things. And for the women who are listening to this, the vice versa, the husband, it's sometimes he's a child, sometimes he's a daddy, sometimes he's a brother. It's many, many different personalities in the same person. Learn to deal with it. Learn to deal with all the idiosyncrasies. And learn to be mavater. We talked about this many, many times. Learn to be mavater. Because you're here to make the marriage work. And that's the problem, why there's so many problems in Shalom Bayis. Because they don't realize it takes work to make it work. It takes work to make it work. And you have to, if you need to air out, I heard there's Yaakov Hecht, he was a darshan from way back in the 60s, and I lost my tape of him. He had a Kavaltika tape, and he says, Sheva Brachas Torah, says, whenever I give a Sheva Brachas drasha, so I said, it says, my rabbi gave me an eitzah right, and how to have a happy marriage. Whenever you get upset with your wife and things get hot, go take a walk. So I can tell you in 50 years of marriage, I have a very happy marriage because I followed that advice and it was very healthy taking so many walks. A lot of fresh air. Learn how to make it work. There's only one person in the world, one couple in the world, and that matters, and that's you and your spouse. That's it. And make it work, and she wants unconditional love. That's what she wants, unconditional love. That's what she wants. That's all she wants. If you give her unconditional love, she will give you back. It's when you don't give her unconditional love, and this is wrong, and you burnt the egg salad again. You burnt the eggs again, and I don't like this chicken.
Used to be times in the Gemara when she burnt the because of Shiloh. Today's opposite.
Okay, I'm talking about in today's times. And like we mentioned, according to the Rambam, and she's got to learn that he wants to feel that he's the boss, so she got to make believe that he's the boss, and then she can, behind the scenes manipulate him. But she's got to make sure that he's the boss. He's got to feel like he's the boss, and you have to treat your wife with unconditional love, and that goes for children also. Treat your children with unconditional love. Doesn't mean don't discipline. It's also part of your job. This is a job. This is your Beskira Achas. You have a family to take care of. Keep your children, give them time. The famous mice with the kid has been saving up in his savings. They call it a piggy bank. I don't like that name, piggy bank. But the little bank, he's been saving up money. So he saved up money, and the father's so proud of him saving up money. He says, "What are you saving up money for?" He says, Daddy, how much do you make an hour? How much do you make an hour? So the father told him, please, I made $250 an hour. So the kid counts his money. He says, okay, I have $125. Can I buy half an hour? Kid wants time. Kids wants time. Zachariah Wallerstein, I just heard of
So you're saying take the money? The money belongs to you, that's first of all.
Zachariah Wallerstein. And give your children praise. He comes home with an 80. Wow, you worked so hard and you got an 80. Oh, I'm so happy. I remember when I was in your class, I got 65s, Just lay it on thick with the 80. It was wonderful. He comes home, that's fantastic, He came out with a good, or they don't have 80s here, and this they have, good, very good, excellent. So he came out with a good. Oh, wow, you're so good. Lay it on thick. Zachariah Wallerstein, he was, you've heard of him, he was an excellent mechanech. So he said a kid came to him, the kid was totally off the derech. He wasn't Shomer Shabbos, it was very, very bad, very, very bad. So the father was distraught what to do. He finally got the kid to go to Zachariah Wallerstein. The kid came to Zachariah Wallerstein, and he started talking to him. He says, why'd you go off the derech? He says, whenever I came home, I was very bright. I was very smart. Family of smarts. Everybody's smarter than the other. And whenever I get a 95, he says, that's all. So why didn't you get an 100? I couldn't please him. A 98 wasn't good for him. It had to be 150% perfect. Otherwise, it's not worth anything. So now I went off the derech. So when I was in the house, he was always looking for the Averas. Now that I'm out of the house, finally, he's looking to see if I have any mitzvahs. He wants to see if he can find the mitzvahs. Aha. Finally, he's looking for my good points. So, the kid wants attention. The kid wants, he wants to feel good about himself. He wants to know that his father believes in him. And give them attention. Don't just take him to the baseball, we don't take him to the baseball game, but give him attention. Take him, whatever he needs, a little attention. You got sukkahs coming up, take him on a sukkahs hike or something like that. Give the children attention. Give them, sumi, what do they call it? Sumi? Sumi. So, Be'ez Hashem, we're coming to Rosh Hashanah, and I wish everybody a good Rosh Hashanah, a good Keben Shiur, and we should be written down in the book of life, right? With all the other tzaddikim. And Be'ez Hashem, Kodesh Baruch should look at us, and we should be good sheep, and good climbers, and good soldiers, and do our tafkid in this world. And Be'ez Hashem, we'll meet again next year, climbing up to next level 41. It's good.